Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete. The two of them go flying through the right-hand side, then the left-hand side. Jochen Hahn around the outside, and Lucas Hahn, no father and son, come together on the exit of turn 1.
And the best thing about this is the fact that it's still a 15-minute sprint race. They've not extended the time of the race. It's still just like, it's going to be, what, 7 laps of start for
We get to the real nitty-gritty of motorsport. Cranston and Smith are side by side for the title in the very final race of the season. As they go back up the hill towards the Schumacher. Nils Core clips the back at 10. Simon Povey clips the side of Nils Core. They go over the hill and Povey's around. Oh my god, that's going to definitely be the thumbnail when it hit me in the right direction. Thank you so much.
23 cars.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening everybody, welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and welcome to round number 5 in season 6 of the Sim Racing magazine GT4 Challenge. We're here at the delightful Donington Park racing circuit where just last weekend the British Touring Car Championship started its 2025 campaign, and there's a lot of people here tonight looking forward to seeing how our wonderful GT4 field gets around this circuit in pretty typically British conditions. My name is Chaz Draycott and I'm delighted to have alongside me in the commentary box once again the wonderful Ed May. Ed, we've both commentated here what feels like quite a lot recently actually, and I'm wondering whether this is going to be almost like new ground for the drivers. We don't get the Grand Prix circuit used that often, do we?
No, we don't. Yeah, obviously with the Melbourne hairpin towards the end of the lap, which is where we'll see quite a lot of the action here tonight. We often have plenty of action wherever we go with the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, but here at Donington Park I'm certain we'll be in for a real treat, just as we were treated to some great action like you mentioned, Chaz, over the weekend just gone, with the British touring cars kicking off the season in quite some style as well. Obviously we're more at the midway point of our season, aren't we, Chaz, and the championship is looking very tasty.
It really is, and this is it now. Callum Brandt and Lewis Ward tied on 49 points at the top of the standings, with Taylor Adams in 3rd place, Adam Watson in 4th and Jake Cranstone in 5th. There has been penalties applied and so on after Brazil. Callum Brandt and Adam Watson both got basically a telling off after the previous race meeting. They are both excluded from the Interlagos results. Instead of a one race ban though like they would normally get, they're both to serve a qualifying ban at Donington Park. We tend or try not to give out penalties in this championship. We've gone back to how it used to be a few seasons ago, and we had to basically come down on this with what had happened at Interlagos. It got out of hand, and after looking back at it, unfortunately, it only made it worse when you look back at it again and again. But still, it's close in the championship. It's close in the team's championship as well, just 8 points between them. And at the moment, Ed, it is Adam Watson, currently fastest out of everybody in this opening part of practice. But qualifying, well, that's going to be a different story, isn't it? He's absolutely speechless as the session comes to a close.
Sorry, you need to take a little bit of a drink. And yeah, you say it's the qualifying ban is going to be really interesting, isn't it? If obviously the way the evening is going to be shaped, those drivers often are qualifying right at the very sharp end of the field. But they're going to have some work to do. Obviously, they'll have plenty of time to do so with the 1 hour, or sort of like traditional endurance style race we're used to seeing here for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, as all of the different machines make their way onto the circuit again. Sort of awkward pit lane, isn't it, Chaz? I know we mentioned about it when we were here for Formula 1, but it's sort of got almost like you're going down a set of stairs, isn't it?
Yeah, because of how downhill the start-finish straight is at Donington Park, and you can see it based on the garages on the right-hand side there. There are these little steps to make sure that the pit boxes themselves are as level as possible so the cars don't sit and roll. There's a change to the driver sort of pairings and teams right there, and you can see Simon Price just making his way out onto the circuit. Simon has filled the spot vacated by Simon Povey in Spontex CDM Esports Blue, and he will now race for the team for the rest of the season. Moving away from Lunchbox Legends, he said basically, based on the fact that he didn't make a livery for the next round of the championship, he's going to race in these colours here tonight. His teammate Dominic Brennan currently out on circuit as well. Dom got mover of the race at Interlagos for the fantastic selflessness that we saw with him keeping the car out of the way of others basically and keeping it from smacking into everybody down that straight to turn 3. It was a hell of an effort, wasn't it, Ed, to keep it clean?
Really big effort there, so it was great to see that sort of, like you say, rewarded with the move of the race. Another driver that has certainly made plenty of move of the race candidates. This man we're on board with, Jake Cranstone. Such a great racer. Qualifying maybe hasn't quite been there all the way through this season, but with the grid as competitive as it is, you'll forgive him for not being on pole as often as we're used to seeing him. Jake Cranstone across the line to start his first flying lap. Again, not necessarily expecting the times to be blistering at this very moment in time, because the tyres do take a little while to warm up around here.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they progress as time goes on. Adam Watson and Callum Brandt both in the pit lane. Christopher Rowe apparently was in the pit lane. Oh, that might be why it showed that he'd almost done a full lap, because he'd clipped the pit lane entry again before going back round. Eric Manintveld had quite a busy debut in the first round that he competed in at Interlagos. He was in the Mr. Blobby livery back then, and now he's got the Win It or Bin It Racing livery on the car, but he's hoping for a bit of a cleaner race meeting here this evening. Matthias Penteler was back with us as well, and he got a podium on his debut as well, didn't he, Ed, when he returned to the series? Had a great night.
Really had a wonderful time, did Matthias, the RD SimSport driver. And they want to keep an eye on for the remainder of the season as well. Pretty handy in practice. Just gone. We'll see if he can transfer that into race pace. Gotta say, Chaz, as well, sort of a complete contrast to the other series that we broadcast together, the Formula 1 with the one-shot qualifying. This is completely different kettle of fish, as all the different drivers out on the circuit together adds a different element, a different challenge. Obviously, you have more laps that you can essentially use to try and throw something at the wall and see if it'll stick, but then you've also got the traffic to contend with, which can help but certainly can hinder, as we're seeing it help John Baylife right now going through the old hairpin. A lovely line through there, in behind one of the Porsches up ahead of him. is Ben Shalcraft, is it not?
It is indeed. Second place at the moment for Ben. 0.563 over 0.568 over 0.573 between those three drivers in second, third and fourth. It's very close. But Taylor Adams, he benefited from a bit of slipstream from his teammate Matt Slight, and he's doing the same again right now to try and get up to the top spots. Chris Jennings is currently fifth in the Porsche, then it's Matt Slight, then it's four Mercedes, Christopher Smith, Matthias Tem, Guy Edwards and Tim Perry all together in the order there. I love this livery on Tim Perry's car, looks absolutely smashing. The Altitude 3M Esports 2 machine. Mark Johnson and his Trackmouse Racing teammate are still wearing the Gulf branded Aprilia liveries. Lovely looking race car indeed, the McLaren 570S. But the Trackmouse cars are sort of replicating MotoGP liveries this season. Who else we got on track? PJ Clysons, and let's not forget as well, Lewis Ward, who is currently tied for the lead of the championship. So Lewis, again, he's a double champion. He's just so under the radar, isn't he?
Yeah, again, I think that sometimes helps him out, though, doesn't it, Chaz? It doesn't necessarily draw attention to himself, so he can just go about his business and then pick his moment to make a name for himself. We saw him having some great battles last time out at Interlagos, to be fair to him, as well, actually, at the season opener, wasn't it, at Road Atlanta, where we saw some excellent racing from him. We'll see, obviously, if he can replicate that here tonight. Again, similar circuit in ways, isn't it, to Road Atlanta, mainly with the elevation and the fast sweeping corners through that first sector of the lap. And you've obviously got the areas around about here, a bit of a longer straight into some heavy braking at the end of the lap, where we can definitely see some room for overtakes. Again, through here, well, if you can make a move stick on the inside, you'll be stuck around the outside for the next hairpin if you don't get it completely nailed on. So there's great opportunities for side-by-side here towards the end of the lap. The drivers need to be quite smart with where they place their car to defend, but also to attack.
Lewis Ward goes 8th fastest on his own. Sets that time with no slipstream. Arthur Thurtle going quite well. He's up in second place, less than a tenth of a second from pole position. But the drivers know here that qualifying isn't going to be as important as it was at Interlagos. We don't have a sprint race evening here tonight. This is the 1 hour endurance race that we'll be having. Matt Slight goes up to 4th position in the Regenta Sim Racing McLaren. Regenta have always been right up there in the order. Up goes Tim Perry into 9th place as well, and look at that, setting up a lap there is Arthur Thurtle. Tries to get the runners up. Around off the side of the road there is Guy Edwards in the Mercedes. Where is Guy in the order right now? Can't see him at the moment. There he is, 15th position as he recovers to the circuit. I think he's got Nils Kaur just behind him there. Nils 13th at the moment. It's quite tough though, isn't it, to get times on the board in these qualifying sessions, Ed? We've seen it before where we get quite topsy-turvy grids.
Yeah, I think that's another great aspect of this, is that we can have any driver in the top 10 with race-winning pace, and it's difficult to exactly determine who's going to be coming out on top. We've obviously seen some brilliant racing from when Ben Idris Abdullahi, teammate of the car we're on board with now, Nils Kaur, and he got his first race victory, didn't he, at the second race at Interlagos, if memory serves right.
He did indeed, yeah.
It was a great battle, wasn't it, between himself and was it Arthur Thurtle in the end?
Yeah, it was mega to see it. Adam Watson, I believe it was,
Adam Watson,
that he had to hold off. But yeah, fantastic stuff from Ben Idris Abdullahi. He's been at it for a while here in a SRM community, and it was lovely to see him get that victory in the big old BMW. That was a car that really worked well at Interlagos due to the high speed of the place. But here, I mean, Don Brennan is the highest placed Beamer at the moment, and he's 8th fastest. Seems to be the Mercedes that's working quite well here. It's a very Mercedes heavy top half of the order. Although I say that, Matthias Tem, he's down in 15th place. Guy Edwards is 16th. These guys are not putting in the times we'd expect. As Jake Cranstone puts in a time we'd expect, he goes fastest, 1:33.2. The first driver, the reigning champion, to completely dethrone Taylor Adams. Well, I say completely dethrone, less than a tenth of a second. It's hardly breaking the bank, is it?
I've just been saying that his qualifying pace hasn't really been there as of late, and then goes and does that. Goes fastest by just around about 9/100ths of a second to Taylor Adams. Again, a familiar sparring partner for Jake.
Yeah.
Racing various different seasons and various different championships as well. formats in all. Those two are very familiar with how they like to race. Might be a really exciting front row if it stays as it is, but we've got 6 minutes to go. And obviously a little bit longer because this is the standard single race format, which means the drivers are able to basically finish the laps that they are on once the checkered flag falls. Unlike in the heat racing format, where as soon as that checkered flag drops, the racing is basically nullified instantly, so the drivers cannot complete laps that they're on.
Heinz Mayer is somebody we should give a shout out to. Massive thanks to him at Orris Analytics and at Derbyshire Holiday Homes with Drew Fletcher and Veronica Fletcher for their sponsorship of the championship. It's lovely to have them on board as partners, and obviously to Sim Racing Magazine, Andy Marston as well, the man behind this entire community, started it all just after COVID it was. It's been a few years now. It's crazy how time really does fly. But what a great grid we've got at the moment. Christopher Rowe is having a bit of a bruising session though. The front right of that car bashed in. Simon Price is the only car behind him in the field at the moment. There's a few positions changing. Oliver Carwadine goes up into 23rd place. John Bailiff goes 20th. John nearly won a race at Interlagos. He's struggling round here in the Aston Martin. Guy Edwards is going to fly up the order into 9th place now. Good lap from him there in the Mercedes. Anybody else on a major improvement? Christopher Rowe is actually about to improve. Or maybe not. I don't know. He's improved in the 3rd sector. 4th sector not much better. Stays 28th. Rob Sharp. We expect Rob to be further up the sharp end. And he moves up to 17th place, does Rob. He's been certainly a staple of the championship since day one. Matt Slight is currently 6th. Lewis Ward moves up into 4th. There's a few movements at this stage, Ed, but not a massive amount. We tend to get the most movement in the first half of these sessions, don't we?
Yeah, it's obviously when the drivers are finding the most amount of time, getting into the perfect operating window with the temperatures, and we start to see the times really ramp up. And it's all about, I think the drivers chase those extra few tenths a little bit too hard and maybe run wide and validate their lap times with the 1Xs here or there. And Childcraft improving there, 7th place for him. And look at how tight those gaps are. Look at how many drivers within a second, basically. It's from first all the way down to 20th.
Crazy.
The average there, just 1 second off of the pace of our current provisional pole sitter, Jake Cranston, who's not back out on circuit, opting to remain in the pits for the next 3 minutes. Gives Taylor Adams, so Spintel, a bit more of an opportunity to try and dethrone him.
Oh, PJ Clysons won't be happy with that one there. Matthias Tem and I think one of the RD SimSport Mercedes, they were trying to slow down, and I don't know who was trying to stay behind who or trying to avoid slipstream or whatever, but they both slowed down a little bit and they were seemingly on the outside line into the final corner. I'd imagine PJ won't be too pleased with that there. And he's, I mean, I don't agree with that. He's seemingly slowed down in front of them now, which is really not on, to be honest with you. That's not good to see. That is really not good to see. And Matthias will, I mean, he won't back down from this being a fight now either. This is the problem.
That's the thing where you have so many competitive drivers. I think Matthias has given up on that lap, flashed the headlights to essentially say, what you playing at?
Yeah, I don't blame him. I really don't blame him. Like, fair enough, they made a mistake. They miscalculated where they were on the circuit, but retaliation like that, just that's you're bringing yourself down to that level. It's just not good. It's really, really not good.
And moving on from that, we come to another driver ramping up on the lap, trying to make sure that they're not going to get in anyone's way. Matthias there going 2nd fastest. Really impressive from him. Shows that he's got a little bit more time left in the bank, perhaps. You're watching, I think that was Arthur Thurtle gearing up for a lap.
Yes.
Would have been, yes, because obviously his teammate not out on the circuit with him and Callum Brandt down towards the tail end of the field. Benedros Abdullahi improving now into 7th place. Impressive there, dropping Christopher Ben Chowcraft down a couple of places. Love this Aston Martin. It's so agreeable through these corners. It's just a nice steady car to drive. The only thing it doesn't like is putting the power down out of, say, a slower speed corner or anywhere where you're more prone to kick into the sort of traction control. If you can avoid that, it is an absolute dream to drive. Almost drive it a bit like a Porsche Cup car, as if you don't have the traction control, because that's where you're going to really enjoy the car. As soon as you just blip into the sort of the traction control cutting in, I've said it before, it just kneecaps your speed and you've got no hope.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
With certain other cars, sorry Chaz, but certain other cars, I think like the Porsche that we've driven before, both you and me Chaz, it's one that you can kind of lean on the traction control a little bit more.
Yeah, you can get it to slide a little bit and you can sort of manage it still. The car allows you to have that certain amount of slip, so you can still get away with it in most cases. I was just about to say, it's a good thing that Donington doesn't really have any slow speed hairpins or anything, as Arthur Thurtle goes through 2 of them. I bet the end of the lap is really the weak point of the Aston Martin. The rest of the lap, though, where it's a very fast flowing circuit, will definitely match up to its strengths. Christopher Smith goes 6th fastest, Arthur Thurtle goes 2nd. Top 4 within a 1/10 of a second here in the SRM GT4 Challenge, and Arthur decides enough is enough there. He goes out of that one. Nils Core, I'm so glad that was Nils and not Ben, slots through into turn 1, and now he will push on to try and set a faster time than these guys. He will be one of the final cars to cross the line. Let's see what the BMW is like down here. It's a big old boat to guide the nose in, but the old hairpin, such a tough corner, isn't it? Every car that goes down there looks awkward.
Yeah, it looked a little bit tricky to get the nose turned in. I would have hoped to cut a little bit more of that inside. You can get away with it through there. Again, this is where the BMW is going to struggle on the sort of higher medium speed corners, trying to get that nose to rotate while carrying the amount of speed. You've usually used the brakes to sort of pitch the nose in, but through those corners you're not really trying to brake as hard. You're more guiding the car through the corner rather than trying to chuck it in, which is something that you can do with the BMW. Getting it through here, you can sort of do it here. You see the nose of the car pitching down over the curbs. It rides them really well, the BMW. Just quite sort of decent suspension for that. Obviously the ride height helps as well. These hairpins, maybe not the BMW strong suit, but it does accelerate pretty nicely. Doesn't have that traction control issues that we see with the Aston Martin. One more corner to go. There's a personal best in the second sector, but no improvements elsewhere. Christopher Smith, though, on a real charge, just not really through that first and last sector. He does not improve. Now over the line, can Nils Core improve on 17th? Improves on his time, but not on his position. And a champion of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge starting down in 17th place.
That's remarkable. But I mean, look at the company he's got there. Rob Sharp, Tim Perry, Don Brennan, Chris Jennings. These drivers are all really fast and could all be potential race winners given the chance. But it's Jake Cranstone, reigning champion, that takes pole here, with Arthur Thurtle alongside him, previous Winter Tour champion, Matthias Penteler and Taylor Adams row 2, Lewis Ward and Christopher Smith row 3. It's very, very exciting. But my God, the top 21 cars basically separated by a second. That is that's naughty. It's absolutely naughty, but this is what the field is like now. The calibre is just unreal. Absolutely unreal at the moment. And, you know, part of the excitement here in this race, I think, is going to be watching Adam Watson and Callum Brandt come through the order. I'm excited to see what they can do there as they serve their qualifying penalties. Yeah,
definitely. It's going to certainly bring a interesting complexion to the championship. Seeing exactly where, obviously, Lewis Ward could take a big step, isn't he? He's joint championship leader, is he not, with Callum Brandt? So he's starting on the 3rd row of the grid. Keep an eye out for him.
So it's Jake Cranstone that will start on pole position then, with Arthur Thurtle alongside him. Matthias Penteler is 3rd with Taylor Adams in 4th. Lewis Ward, double champion, alongside Christopher Smith in the 3rd row of the grid. Matt Slight will start alongside Ben Idris Abdullahi, our most recent race winner. Matthias Ten will start in 9th place with fellow Mercedes driver Guy Edwards alongside him. Then it's Ben Chalcraft in his Porsche with Dennis Van Beelen joining him on row number 6. Behind them is PJ Clysons with Dominic Brennan starting 14th. Rob Sharp is 15th ahead of Tim Perry. Nils Core, previous champion, starts 17th with Chris Jennings 18th. Stephen Burns and Stephen Codman make it in all-Stephen row 10. Lee Berridge will start alongside John Bailiff on the 11th row, with Eric Manintveld, his teammate, joining Heinz Meyer on row 12 and 24th. Oliver Carwadine is next up with Christopher Rowe. They start together on row 13. Mark Johnson is then with Francois Brandet, car 28, P28. Simon Price, in his first race for Spontex CDM Esports Blue this season, will start 29th, ahead of Callum Brandt and Adam Watson. 2 drivers both in the top 4 of the championship, but after some shenanigans at Interlagos, they both have qualifying bans that they have served and will now start from the back of the grid. Callum Brandt is there, Adam Watson is not. There is Arthur Thurtle forming up on the front row of the grid. Interesting how the graphics made it left-hand side of the grid pole position, but yet it is actually the right when it comes to loading them in the sim. Anyone in particular that you've got your eye on here, Ed? Maybe Jake could get away at the front, or maybe somebody could make their way through. What do you reckon?
I reckon Lewis Ward on that third row is going to try and make the most of this sort of opportunity that's been given to him with 2 of his main championship rivals down at the, well, basically the rear of the grid. You could see if he can maybe spring some surprises around the outs, or rather up the inside, won't he, in towards turn 1.
Yeah, we'll have to see who can make it and when. The field will now form up, and they will do a bit of weaving, get some initial temperature into the tyres, do what they can do. But right now, this is a little bit of time for the drivers to not necessarily get nervous, but just to sort of build up an idea in their head of how they want this race start to go. Matthias Penteler starting third is going to be on for a belter here for sure. He was rapid at Interlagos. Jake Cranstone flashing the lights, saying hello already. And as they head round the final hairpin now, the safety car will peel in. It's at Jake's discretion when they go. And just like that, as he gets on the brakes, round 5 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge gets underway. There's a few people further back that have got to run straight off the corner, and I don't think Jake's going to lead down into turn 1. Thurtle's going to try and go around the outside. They're nearly 4 wide in the middle. It looked like Matthias Tem trying to get down the inside of Ben Idris Abdullahi. Oh, there is contact between those two as they exit turn 1, but it's still side by side for the race lead. Jake Cranstone on the right, Arthur Thurtle on the left, down towards the old hairpin. Can Jake hold on to it? There's a flash of the lights, but Thurtle goes through. Fantastic start by Arthur, and he leads this race.
Yeah, flash of the lights from Taylor Adams against Lewis Ward. I'm not sure what for. It looked like a pretty clean move by Lewis. Just smart car placement to take advantage of the run out of the first corner. On board with Lee Berridge right in the thick of the action now. Careful now, says the rear spoiler of Chris Jennings, and that's exactly what Lee is, I think, having to do at this moment in time.
Oh.
Ooh, maybe not so careful up the inside there. I think Chris saw that pretty late on, gave enough space to carry on going without getting bashed into. Yeah, plenty of action all the way through the field. No big incidents though, which is good to see. Hopefully that continues now through into the chicane. Callum Brandt though, look at this. He's not waiting about for anyone, is he?
No,
Whoa.
There is contact though. He went down the inside of Eric Mannenveld because he saw that there was going to be a check-up on the right, so he went to the left. But then I don't think he left quite enough room on the exit. Eric's understeered into him. Adam Watson says, thanks very much, I'll take that. But then he has then got a bit too much of the grass on the right. End of the first lap then. Francois Brandet has been into the pits. It's Arthur Thurtle, Jake Cranstone, Lewis Ward, and has Penteler got to slow down? No, he just moves all the way over to the left. Taylor Adams is in there as well. Loads of Mercedes in the middle of this. Christopher Smith, Guy Edwards in there as well. Matthias Tem right up behind Ben Idris Abdullahi. Battle behind there is Rob Sharp looking down the inside of PJ Gleisons. Tim Perry in there too. Dennis Van Beelen going slowly on the right hand side. Oh my God, breathe in. Wow, this is great stuff to begin a 1 hour race. It's like they're treating it like a sprint race.
Wow, yeah, really, really impressive racecraft on display so far. Close as ever at the very front, close as ever in the mid-packing as well, at the tail end of Christopher Rowe off the circuit, rejoined safely. Kinetic, Callum Brandt, Adam Watson only 10 seconds back from race leaders, and that covers, well, 25 places.
Francois Brandet had... Right then. That was Adam Watson. Just in front there. Gets the run on Simon Price. And just dives out to the left and walls him. I don't know. I don't think Adam knew he was there. Otherwise, I don't think he'd have done that. But, yeah, that was pretty nasty.
Yeah. Well, Francois there, I think, just innocent victim, as this is Christopher Rowe's earlier incident.
Yeah, he's having a bit of a nightmare, isn't he, Christopher Rowe? He's not really getting in the getting on with his car so far this season, by the look of it. Inter-team battle going on there as Ben Chalcraft in the Spontex CDM Esports Porsche takes on Dominic Brennan's Spontex CDM Esports Blue BMW. Gary Toll not here this evening, unfortunately. He's unable to make it back from work in time, but we send Gary all the best and hope he's having a good night wherever he may be, whether he is at least hopefully chilled out after work. But still, great turnout this evening with 31 cars on the grid and a very packed field throughout as well. But it's Arthur Thurtle leading the way then in the Aston Martin. Got that all-important jump over Jake Cranstone, reigning champion, and Arthur trying to stamp his authority on this season nice and early. And well, I'm excited to see whether he can keep that up throughout the season and see what the fight is like with some of these other amazing drivers. I mean, just look at the top 10. Thurtle, Cranstone, Ward, Pentilla, Adams, Edwards, Smith, Slight, Abdullahi and Tem. It's like an all-stars race. Like I said at Interlagos, it's like an SRM all-stars race, isn't it? Every single race. They're just all big, big names from this community that have always been here and always been fast.
Yeah, we'll see if these drivers can also work together to try and break away from the chasing packet behind, because you've got these two drivers that will be trying to get up there as soon as possible. Callum Brandt and Adam Watson almost having to work together at this stage of the race. Very weird to have to say that, of course, when they've been knocking 7 bells out of each other beforehand. As Eric Manuel, to his credit, doesn't need to get out of the way, does he? He's racing for position.
Yeah.
Relishing the opportunity to race with some of the fastest drivers on the grid.
He's fighting hard though, is Eric, isn't he? We've seen Eric in other series before. Oh, he's turned in on him. Oh, I was going to say, we've seen Eric fighting hard before, but he wasn't giving enough room there, unfortunately. That is a big, big shame.
Definitely. Could see that Callum was certainly alongside, was entitled to space up the inside of the corner, who was basically wheel to wheel, door to door as they turned into the corner, and just unfortunately misjudged, I think, a little bit there, did Eric.
John Bailiff there just behind, trying to get past Dennis Van Beelen, but it looked like he was trying to hide himself in the right rear wheel arch of that Aston Martin, in fairness. He's trying to turn it into one 8-wheeled Aston. You can see there Adam Watson just behind these guys, trying to put in quicker and quicker times, but yeah, that was a massive shame, that, for Callum Brandt. He was running a little bit deep, but not massively. He was still on the inside. But I mean, if you look at how this goes from the chopper camera, at the end of the day, Callum gets to the apex, but I think he gets into the ABS a little bit. There is more than a car's width on the inside, but I think he just gets into the ABS and bounces off. I think it was maybe 6 of one, half a dozen the other there. It looked from the original angle like Maninveld just turned in on him, but it did look like Callum was running a bit deep.
Yeah, just one of those sort of racing incidents, unfortunately, is... Well, we're going to get one up ahead there. Jake Cranstone, Arthur Thurtle. Arthur forced to go defensive, didn't he, to the inside. Jake was right up behind him. I'm not necessarily sure if that was an attempt at a move there by Jake. Obviously, they're trying to break away a little bit, aren't they? This leading 3 from Matthias Pentilla. Driver in 4th place. Again, really impressive to see the Finnish driver already right up on the pace after making his return to the championship just a round ago.
How close Lewis Ward is to the back of Jake Cranstone now, all over the back of that lovely little Masters of Torque Porsche. But Lewis, we've seen him do this so many times, haven't we? Follows closely, really keeps it clean. He mounts a very respectful attack, does Lewis Ward. And then he'll suddenly catch you off guard with a big send down the inside that'll just throw everybody off. But this trio at the front, very, very close. Matthias Pentilla, then Taylor Adams, who is one of the masters of these hour-long endurance races, sitting in 5th. Behind Ben Idris Abdullahi, I mean, look at this lot. Look at all this lot. It's just a massive train from Ben Idris Abdullahi in 9th all the way back to Chris Jennings in 18th place.
Yeah, what would that be? A 24-wheeler? Something like that?
More than that, wouldn't it?
God,
there's 9 of them, so yeah, 36 wheeler. God, we're really bad at maths, aren't we? PJ Clyson's in his attempt to get past Ben Chalcraft has actually lost a place. Tim Perry has moved through. He's gained 3 places. So too is Dominic Brennan. Guy Edwards is the biggest mover in the top half of the field so far with 4 places gained, and he's away from all of that rubbish. So Christopher Slight and Matt Smith. Those are the 2 behind him. Christopher Smith and Matt Slight trying to chase him down. Matt going well in 8th position. He was another one, wasn't he, Matt, in previous seasons where he was rapid, he was really good in qualifying, but then when it came to it, just didn't quite get the race results together, did he? Him and his teammate, they always wanted to mount an attack together, but he just never became part of it, did he?
No, unfortunately not as slight. So wonderful, isn't it, to see all of these different manufacturers battling away. It does seem to be a bit more of a Mercedes contingent up in the top 10. Currently, I think, is it 6 of the top 10 drivers are in the silver arrows, even though most of them are black.
Yeah, mainly matte black as well, usually.
Yeah, the SimSport contingent having a really good race, and to be fair, that's also important for the team's championship, isn't it, Chaz, to earn so well. RD SimSport 2, Guy Edwards, Christopher Smith 6th and 7th. We've got the RD SimSport driver Matthias Pentela up in 4th. His teammate, where is Callum Brandt, on 28th for now, but closing in all that train of cars, and really positions don't necessarily matter just because of, well, how close they're all fighting. Adam Watson is around about 7 seconds up the road, but
yeah,
he's going to be slowed down and held up by all of this battling, and
he's going to
maybe
be
having
slowed
his own
down.
little incident through turn 1.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going to be slowed down by the fact that he sends it up the inside and then mucks it up. I think these guys obviously trying to make moves on people, trying to go as late as they can on the brakes. They're just getting into the ABS and running deep. That's the second time we've seen Adam and Callum both do it. Callum didn't quite do it to that extent, but obviously he still had a car alongside, and both of them have made contact at turn 1. And even going through the order, they're upsetting people. It's it's not painting them in a better light, but still, it is what it is. Look at Matthias Tem in the background there. Look at this. Flipping heck, he's got one hell of a tow hook on the back of that Mercedes.
It really does. Look at them all just swarming around behind him, diving to the inside, just seeing if they can find any gaps past him now. Matthias, we know how good he is at defending. He's a difficult driver to try and overtake, but Ben just have to lie. He proved that he was able to race just as well as he was able to defend, wasn't he, at Interlagos? I think lost out for a moment to, I believe it was Adam Watson, but then managed to retake it at the end of the race. Now this was PJ Clyson's driving at the inside, not 1, not 2, but 3 cars.
I mean, I think the rest of them were in avoidance. That was a massive send by PJ Clyson's. I think he wanted to get down the inside of Tim Perry, but then just way overdid it. I wonder how much red mist he's driving with after his earlier little skedaddle with Matthias Tem in qualifying. Ben Chalcraft would have screamed many words at that one. We've been teammates with Ben before, Ed and I have, and yeah, he's certainly a character when he's racing. It's great to hear what Ben's feedback is about the races. He's the man behind our big points spreadsheet for the championship, and we are uber grateful to him for that. Oliver Carwadine, by the way, did a purple sector on that previous lap. He's down in 27th place, so yeah, setting ultimate pace. Jake Cranstone's done the fastest lap of the race in his pursuit of Arthur Thurtle. And it's not quite a top 3, but it's also not quite a top 5, is it, at the moment, Ed? A little bit of a gap here and there between all these guys so far. Looks nice and safe as, oh, dearie me. Mark Johnson is off the road. So too is Heinz Mayer.
There you go. Heinz.
Oh, this was way
the
before.
old hairpin. This was a lot earlier, yeah.
Oh, he's had a little wobble there. And then we're about to have the moment at the top of the hill. Oh. Suddenly the McLaren just stops. It's like he put it in reverse. That was very strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just, I think when you're racing that close behind, you need to sort of give yourself a little bit more of an allowance, sort of lift off a little bit into the corners if you know you're not going to be
Yeah.
going for a move.
I mean, it looked to me like Mark just came to a stop there. He really slowed it down. Like, it's almost as if he was worried about it going wide. He tried to trail brake through the corner, but it was like trail braking with full braking force on. It really stopped very suddenly. Really, really strange. But you're absolutely right, though. You do have to afford space to the car in front. I don't think anybody could have expected it to go that slowly. Watson, by the way, fastest lap of the race last time round, 1:33.3, faster than the leaders. And now he's caught this group.
Really impressive so far from Adam Watson, but will he continue this fine run of form? See him up the inside, maybe in towards the hairpin if he can get a good run through this upcoming chicane. Callum Brandt, and he's been trying to close up to this train of cars. I don't think he's far off of the rear of Oliver Carwadine, but that earlier incident has hampered a lot of his progress up the grid order. Continues to be, well, a great big fight, isn't it, between Arthur Thurtle, Jake Cranstone, Lewis Ward. Matthias Penteler as well has caught up, but this is Dominic Brennan on the defensive, trying to keep PJ Clyson's at bay. Lewis Ward's teammates, so Team 11 getting some pretty good points as well. PJ just outside the top 10. Be a very, very strong race for them here tonight. But right now, well, I think it's just going to be about trying to manage things, isn't it, at this stage of the race now? I think a lot of the drivers are at least attempting to settle into some kind of rhythm before the round of pit stops in maybe about 10 minutes' time.
Yeah, to be fair, I think that it's going to be quite important around this circuit because, as you can see, we've got a huge train of cars all the way up and down the order. It's a very compressed pack so far in this race. I mean, the top 20 aren't even separated by 20 seconds. It's 15 seconds between all of them. And, I mean, this humongous queue of cars is to help for that, but still, it is one of the closest fields we've had in a long time this season, but also this race is super close together. John Bailiff here in the Aston Martin has Adam Watson behind. Adam's gained 10 places from where he started as Jake Cranstone has gone for the lead down at the hairpin. Brilliant little move there from Jake. He's trying to take control of this race now, defending the inside line. We've said it before, haven't we, Chaz? That little hairpin section does allow drivers to try and fight around the inside of one corner, then the outside of the next. But Jake's decided, right, I've got the pace to maybe break away in clear air. We'll see if that's going to work out for him. Also, of course, you need to realise that all that time spent behind has been able to save some fuel, hasn't he, Chaz? And that's something the drivers factor into their sort of strategy calls from when they position themselves. And does Lewis Ward maybe sense a slightly weakened Arthur Thurtle now, because he's really closing up? Yeah, he's giving it a go, isn't he, Lewis? All over the Aston Martin. But then again, he's been following closely since the start of the race. It's just that now you sense the body language has potentially changed, and you can see, look, he's trying to look down the inside here and there, down the inside of that gorgeous altitude 3M Esports Aston Martin. We usually have Mr. Walker in the chat with us at some point. If you're there, Jonathan, hello. But it really is close between these top three at the moment. Even behind as well, though. I mean, Matthias Penteler is not too far off, with Taylor Adams in there as well. Guy Edwards is then about 3 seconds back. He's with his teammate Christopher Smith. These two are chained at the hip, I swear. Like, these two are absolutely always together on circuit. They were in previous seasons as well. Matt Slight, the next car behind them, hoping to catch up. But to be fair, he's not got a lot to worry about behind at the moment, because Matthias Thames got just about everybody else filling his mirrors. It'll look like a rainbow, like a kaleidoscope, as PJ Clysons looks down the inside of Dominic Brennan. These two are having a very fierce fight. PJ certainly bought his boxing gloves with him tonight, hasn't he? Yeah, PJ certainly getting stuck in as best he can, but it's difficult when you get into this sort of train of cars, isn't it, Chaz, where you're not going to be gaining on the slipstream enough on the car ahead to try and make any sort of meaningful moves up the inside. You'll need to come from a long way back to try and unsettle drivers ahead of you. And also, PJ, you can hear lifting quite heavily in towards turn one. Obviously, Redgate, an area where you can do that off of the back of Roddards down the start-finish straight. Again, in towards the old hairpin, we might hear a little bit of lift and coast. Certainly doing that, isn't he, PJ?
making clear what his intentions are to try and extend this stint, go as long as possible, maybe take a little bit less on board for the next stop, see if that gets him into clear air.
Yeah, he'll certainly want to try and just give himself just one lap where you can have a run. Just having that one lap without a car in front of you makes such a difference to your entire race, and a lot of drivers often overlook it. They always just think, nah, it'll be alright, you know, I'll be fine. I'll just sit in a train, you know, I'll use their slipstream. But like you said, when you're in close quarters in that slipstream, you can't use it to its finest advantages because you've got a car behind you as well wanting to do the same to you and take advantage. So it's not easy, really not easy. Adam Watson is making his way through the order still. He's up to 19th place now. He's just overtaken Lee Berridge and John Bailiff on this previous lap. Those two are actually side by side into the hairpin right now as John is around the outside. Lee tries to make a move, bit of a wiggle on the exit. And Lee just moves over to the left to say, nope, I'm in front. I'll take that inside line, thank you. Tries to block him off. Stephen Codman there as well. That is the final point scoring position as well in this race. And look, is that a surprise? Not one bit to me. Adam Watson into the pits early, gets himself out of all the traffic. He's going to pit now, and he's going to crack on in clean air. Great move, that.
Callum Brown doing the exact same as well, actually, into the pits. So this is very smart. A lot of the drivers that maybe back themselves to have a bit more pace and get through, go for the early pit stop. Obviously, pitting maybe bang on at the 20-minute mark, basically splitting up the race into 3 chunks of 20. Where obviously some drivers might go for a 25 and then maybe a 20 and a 15, sort of seeing where they can approach the race from there, or a 25, a 25 and a 10. There are different ways, obviously, of approaching the race, but you need to make that decision pretty early on in your stint for how you want to approach things going on.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can make as many plans as you want, but you never know how the race is actually going to pan out in the opening stages. So it's then how you plan to adapt and, you know, give yourself a little bit of wiggle room just in case you need to change the plan as it all goes on. And some of these guys are amazing at doing that. Others, they stick to the plan no matter what. You know, they stick to their guns from the very get-go. Anyone pitting here? Yes, the top 3 pits, but Pentler and Adams carry on through. That's interesting to see. I was expecting only really Cranstone and Ward. Cranstone and Thurtle to come in then. I was expecting Lewis Ward to carry on, but no, that's not the case. That's surprised me a lot, that.
Well, one comfort for Matthias is that he's on track with Taylor Adams, who is basically one of the best drivers in these situations, isn't it? Over these endurance races, of planning exactly when to pit. So if he'll be at least having some confidence that he's probably doing something right, as out ahead of them all, Jake Cranstone.
Yeah, but Stephen Burns came out ahead of that as well.
Stephen Burns, what sort of pit stop did he have?
He didn't stop. Stephen Burns has gone straight through. I think he's missed his lollipop man. And now he's in front of his teammate, but yeah.
1.5 seconds the gap, though, between Thurtle and Burns.
What has happened here? Is he running out of fuel and he's just trying to straight line it?
He's trying to take the path of least resistance, I don't know.
I mean, it's not pretty. I think...
I've never seen
this is one of the most, halfway through a race, this is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. I think he knows it's over. Yeah, he's run out of fuel. Stephen Burns is out of fuel. He's gone through the pit lane. He's missed his box, and unfortunately that is that. Okay, these two into the pits then. Oh, I thought I'd get the right camera, but no. So Matthias Pentler, Taylor Adams. Like you said, it'll give Matthias very, very good confidence that he is with Taylor Adams. He knows that Taylor is one of the very best at doing this. Up on the jacks goes the Regenta machine. There's Nils Kaur coming into the pit lane in the BMW, one of the earliest boxes. Interesting to see that Taylor Adams has gone up onto the jacks there to take tyres. Drew Fletcher reckons that Stephen Burns was doing a bit of gardening for Mr. Palmer. He's not wrong. Pentler and Adams now leaving the pit lane. Where are these guys going to come out? I love the exit of Donington and where this camera is placed down at turn 1, because you get to see them literally side by side into turn 1, and they resume the same order. What about the background? We have Matt Slight ahead of Guy Edwards and Christopher Smith, so he's jumped both of those Mercedes in the pit stops. He'll be pleased with that. Nils Kaur is on his way out, but He was down in like 17th position earlier on, wasn't he? Rob Sharp making his way down as well. Nils Kor 16th. This is bizarre for Nils Kor so far, but he's just not been able to make the ground that he would have wanted, has he?
No, he hasn't, unfortunately, which is a real shame.
Oh.
I'm so used to seeing him battling away at the very top end of the field. Adam Watson.
He's been in the
He's
pits.
behind Callum Brandt. He had to make a second stop.
No, he had a penalty, I think, because he was in the pits for 58 seconds. And everyone else was in for about 20 seconds. So Adam, after all of his great hard work and the idea of having the strategy of pitting early, is now almost back to completely square one. Both of these Stevens seem to be out of the race. Stephen Burns and Stephen Codman, they started 19th and 20th on the grid. They're both sat in the pit lane, not going anywhere at present, which is a shame. But with nearly half of the race gone, it's Jake Cranstone leading Arthur Thurtle, Lewis Ward, Matthias Pentila and Taylor Adams. Matt Slight is 6th at the minute with Guy Edwards and Christopher Smith, Matthias Tem and then Ben Idris Abdullahi completing the top 10. But he is under pressure from possibly the most fiery racer of the evening, PJ Clysons.
Yeah, PJ's really not been mucking about. He's certainly not been reckless. He's been very sort of measured with his moves. And that'll certainly give at least Ben Idris Abdullahi a bit more cause for concern almost for the if PJ goes up the inside. He knows that he's just going to be going there with intent to pass rather than to try and push his way past. And that is going to be something that Ben is, I think, acutely aware of. Just a point to make on the alternative strategies from Matthias and Taylor. Obviously going that lap longer. Matthias opting for, I think, a tyre change as well. Probably changing the fronts because they do take a bit of a battering around here. Obviously, if you do try something different around here, your main goal is to try and gain something. Secondarily to that, do not lose anything. That's going to be the baseline priority, and they'll be taking some comfort that while obviously it didn't necessarily work to gain anything, nothing was lost. And that's going to, I think, give them a little bit more comfort to try something again towards the end of the race, see if they can maybe gain from that different strategy path that they're on, because they're already now got that 1 lap delta to the cars ahead of them. They've basically pitted a lap later, so they're essentially running, theoretically, a lap heavier on fuel at this moment in time.
Yeah, definitely. It will make a difference, especially in cars like this that don't have all the power in the world. They are fast GT4 cars. I do love them. It's one of my favourite categories because you get these beefy GT racing cars that still really closely resemble the cars that they are based on. And that's what I love about it. I do enjoy GT3 racing for the same reason, but I think with how close GT4 cars are to just the supercars and sports cars that they're based on, I don't know, it just adds that little bit more relatability? It makes them that more relatable, basically. PJ Clysons, I mean, he's as relatable as you can get to the rear bumper of a BMW without it actually being a BMW right now. Ben Idris Abdullahi is going to be fed up. His pixels on his monitor will never be able to go pink ever again after this race, with PJ Clysons right behind him. Matthias Thames made a little bit of a mistake in front of the two of them here as well. Which way is PJ going to go, or is he just going to sit? No, he's going to look down the inside. I think he might go for this. No, he's just trying to put pressure on. I think he knows that Abdullahi's going to get held up here slightly behind Matthias Tem, and this could spark a bigger battle, because right behind them, Dominic Brennan and Ben Chalcraft ready to clean up for Spontex CDM Esports, you could say, as Chalcraft looks now to, well, somehow try and look around the BMWs, but they're just massive.
Yeah, Dominic and Ben are certainly no scrubs when it comes to racing. We'll see if they can prove exactly that. Just look at how aggressive Dominic was through that chicane, trying to close up now to PJ. Certainly worked out brilliantly for him, because PJ's feeling the strain himself. Here we go. All the while, Matthias Tem is wondering, oh my word, I hope please let me get through this in one piece, with everyone chasing behind him.
It's interesting.
Actually, sorry, Chaz, go on.
I was going to say PJ has been sort of not bleeding off the brakes as such, but he's been braking a lot lighter into the corners, into those hairpins in particular. You see him run really close to the back of Ben Idris Abdullahi. Look at the mid-corner speed that he's carrying, especially into those hairpins. He just tries to set it up. He lets himself run a little bit wider to then try and get the run back up the hill. He's just giving it. It's almost like a bit of a fail-safe at the moment for PJ. He's a bit wide there through the craners, but one of the beauties of that is that you can get the car back on the racing line without any major dramas at the old hairpin. I say that as he goes off. But still, great racing so far from just about everybody in the field.
I mean, looking at it as well, you mentioned greatly PJ's approach to it. That could also potentially be a tyre-saving technique, isn't it? Not really putting too much strain onto the brakes, is he? Just slowing up gradually for the corner, taking sort of wider, more sweeping lines where he's not having to have the angle on the wheel as he's turning, which can roll away some of the tread of the tyre. So could be hoping for the end of the race to have a bit more sort of grip and use that to his advantage as well.
Just see it down here. Sorry, he just goes really, really deep on the brakes here every time, but not deep enough to hit the car in front. But he just gains it there. Just lets it go there, you see. It just floats into the corner, and it just looks like he's got so much more speed. Look at that. It's just amazing. It's where he almost got caught out by himself earlier on, I think, trying to overtake Tim Perry and the likes, because he's doing it there, look. Runs it a little bit wide, gets it to the apex still. His mid-corner speed around those hairpins is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's certainly using that Mercedes to great effect. It's also... a little fake to the outside to then get the inside. If he pulls this off.
Oh, that's lovely,
Wow.
PJ. Ben's not going to be happy. Ben's got the run. Who's that going slowly in front of them? Is that Heinz Mayer? Yes.
Heinz, yep, getting out of the way. But that was, I think, well, if that's not going to be moving the race, I don't know what will be, because that was just great gamesmanship, wasn't it, really?
He just opens the door and then headbutts the thing on the way through. Great awareness by Ben Idris Abdullahi, though, to duck out of it. Ben does try and get the run, but then he's got nowhere to go. And PJ sticks to his lines, puts him around the outside. Fantastic bit of racing, that.
Really impressive. Really, really impressive there by PJ. What we said before is that he's always measured with how he approaches things, isn't he? He never tries to send moves from too far back. He set that up a couple corners in advance, actually, as well, because we talked about his approach through the Melbourne hairpin, how he was able to get such a great run and settle Ben Idris Abdullahi, make him go a little bit more defensive in towards that final hairpin, and then that just opened the door brilliantly for that little dummy, wasn't it? The fake to the inside, back to the outside, then committing to the inside at the last moment. Basically, as soon as Abdullahi committed onto the brakes for the corner, that was the point where we saw that Mercedes darting up his inside, and that, right, there isn't really anything Ben could do because he'd committed.
Absolutely, he had. We've got a bit of a battle going on here, side by side, between the two Spontex cars. Dominic Brennan for Spontex CDM Esports Blue, Ben Chalcraft for Spontex CDM Esports in what we call just the standard livery. Currently, that little Porsche trying to hide behind the BMW. I think at this point, if Dominic Brennan goes past Ben Idris Abdullahi, Ben will be like, whoa, there was a Porsche behind you the whole time. He'd have no idea that Ben is just hiding there with him. But PJ Clyson's now he's through. He wants to go chasing after Matthias Tem. How are Callum Brandt and Adam Watson doing? Callum is 20th at the moment, so he's into the points. 4 seconds off John Bailiff. Based on the previous laps, it will only take him maybe about 4 or 5 laps at this pace to catch up to him as well. He's absolutely flying right now. Adam Watson, unfortunately for Adam, still 26th. He's passed Simon Price. Heinz Mayer, I think, has called it a day in his race. Oh, he's got big damage there. Big damage. What on earth is that? He's ended up losing it into the chicane. It's going to go one way then the other, I think. Oh no, he's going to hit the inside wall. A lot of forward momentum there. That was not tasty.
Yeah, you could see he was holding the brakes, but they did nothing for him, unfortunately. Arthur Thurtle now scrapping away with Jake Cranstone. It's his turn to be on the defensive. That gap of 1.5 seconds as he exited the pits is now down to, well, basically nothing as they go nose to tail through Redgate into the Craner curves. Perfectly spaced from one another, isn't it? You've got the Porsche, the Aston, and then the Mercedes. Lewis Ward bring up the rear of this three-way fight for the lead.
Oh, look at the run from Arthur.
There. Beautiful, isn't it?
This really works well, actually, with this camera and that sort of distancing as well on a flowing circuit like Donington Park. I just hope that the helicopter pilot doesn't get in any trouble for flying so close to East Midlands Airport. But either way, Thurtle is certainly looking like he's on the attack now. He says to Jake, look, you may have got pole position, you may have gotten ahead of me earlier, but I am going to get this back, I'm telling you. And Lewis is sort of egging him on. He's like, go on, son, have him. And they're really starting to dart about now and show a bit more body language. Still 27 minutes left in this race. This is round number 5 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge in its 6th season. Sponsored by Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Orris Analytics here on Chaz Draycott Media. You've got Chaz Draycott and Ed May in the commentary box. And an absolute wealth of fantastic drivers out on this circuit. What a wonderful, wonderful trio we have at the front of the order, though, Ed. And to be fair, Jake Cranstone, he's not looking too defensive, is he, yet? He's not showing any signs that he's under pressure. He's just driving his drive.
He looked a little bit defensive this part of the lap just gone, but it seems like he's been able to weather that storm just a touch. Obviously, the chasing pack in behind now. Matthias Penteler got that gap to under a second very briefly as they made their way over the line. Taylor Adams up there with him as well, could easily make it 5-way fight for the lead, especially probably towards the end, you'd imagine, when the battles start to become a little bit more intense. They all slow each other down. Any one of those 5 could quite easily take victory here tonight. Unfortunately, Matt Slight just falls outside of that conversation. He's down in 6th and about 5.5 seconds back from his Regenta Sim Racing teammate, but still a solid haul of points potentially going Regenta's way.
Yeah.
If it stands the way it does here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's something to focus on, isn't it? It's the Teams Championship. Currently RD Simsport leading that fight, but with Callum Brandt down in just 20th place, not really going to be a massive haul for them both.
No, definitely not. And at the end of the day, Regenta have been one of the top teams in this community, not just this championship, but community for a while now. And I think they deserve a trophy if they don't have one by the end of this. Flipping out. Lewis Ward looks down the inside of Arthur Thurtle. The two of them side by side into the hairpin. Lewis is finally fed up of sitting behind the Aston Martin. He says, let's get on with it then, sunshine. Let's have a battle. Jake Cranstone tries to give whatever slither of slipstream he can to the Aston Martin, who remains on the inside. This will be great news for Jake, though, although he's gone deep himself, actually. Jake will be loving this as they fight, because this will mean they naturally slow one another down and give that little Porsche at the front a bit more breathing room. But the Mercedes reinforcements in the form of Taylor Adams and Matthias Penteler are coming. There's a bit of contact, I think, there through turn 1. Lewis Ward, maybe much like we've seen before, getting into the ABS a little bit and just rubbing the side of that Aston Martin. Lewis is through, though. It wasn't particularly dirty. It was just close stuff.
Yeah, if we can see that from an aero point of view as well, it looks like maybe Arthur realises that if he fights it too hard, he's going to lose out a lot of time to Jake Cranston. You'll see him there. They run a little bit wide, and then there's a little tap of brakes. The Aston, actually, being as stable as it is, seems maybe a little bit unsettled. Or was that maybe Arthur deciding to just concede the battle but not the war in terms of the fight for the victory? Because if those two went side by side through the cranes, they could easily lose touch with Jake Cranstone, lose that slipstream.
Yeah, I don't know if there was necessarily any contact, actually. It was just really close, and then Arthur said, no, I'm all right. I'm all right, thank you. I don't really want to commit too much to that. What he's done, basically, is he's let Lewis Ward go here to go chasing after Jake. He knows that Lewis has got the pace. He's two-time champion of this. Jake is the reigning champion. He won Season 5. And to complete the set, Nils Kaur, currently in 16th place, only gained 1 position from where he started. He's our Season 4 Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge champion. Simon Povey winning the first season many moons ago now, it seems. Unfortunately, after... Oh, it's mad, isn't it? Unfortunately, after a rough couple of first rounds, Simon has withdrawn from the championship to focus on other things, which is why the seat has been filled by Simon Price. Simon's a good friend of the Spontex CDM Esports team. Lovely, lovely bloke. Very funny man as well. I've done many a Euro Truck video with Simon and convoys and stuff, and he's very funny. Absolutely has me in pieces. But a good friend of the team, and now he races for them for the rest of the season.
Jake Cranstone at this moment in time leads the race here at Donington Park. The 5th round of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge certainly has not disappointed, has it, Chaz? It's been really impressive. Oh, dear me.
Collective noises.
To, well, a bit of a boil over there.
This might.
Here we go. This certainly might. 2 Mercedes side by side. Wonderful action there, isn't it? Giving each other just enough racing room.
I say it might. This will. I'm telling you. This is...
God. Yeah, here we
These
go.
are 3 drivers that do not ever want to back down and
Oh,
give an
dear.
additional inch. 3 drivers that I would not want to put in a steward's room together. Matthias Temp, PJ Clyson side by side through the chicane, just making it work. Have they done that? Ben Idris Abdullahi now wants to run through. Oh, I think Matthias nearly ran him out of room. 3 wide down towards the hairpin. Oh, PJ's moved over to the right. I don't know where he was going to go there. I don't know where PJ thought they were going there. I really don't. I'm not sure if he tried to stay out of the way of Dominic Brennan, but Ben Idris Abdullahi goes through. Ben Chalcraft goes through. They're still side by side into the final hairpin. Tem gets it to the inside line. Watch Chalcraft in that little Porsche. Oh, he's going to get rear-ended by his stablemate there. Flipping out. I don't know where PJ thought they were going there, but he moved over to the right, and then, yeah, that was always going to be the outcome for me, that, I think.
Yeah. And see, from that angle as well, it looks like Matthias is overshooting it. He brakes too late, but it's because of the contact side by side is what sort of stops his braking being as efficient as some of the other cars around him. Like, if you look at the inside, for example, they all brake at near enough the same point.
I think what PJ
It's just
does,
because of the contact,
yeah,
drives him out wider.
I think if you watch PJ's car, watch the pink and white Mercedes here, the circuit does kink to the left before the hairpin. I think PJ's just looking at the other cars and he just carries on going straight. Look, watch where this kink's here. See the kink there? He just goes straight. And then the two of them are locked together. There's the touch, and yeah, they both overdo it as a result of that contact. Jake Cranstone, by the way, did lose the lead for a moment to Lewis Ward, and then he got it back. While all that was going on at the bottom of the hill. Look at that, Lewis around the outside, throws it in, tries to get it done, has to tuck back in behind the Porsche, and as we go back to live pictures of them, they are still nose to tail, the top 5 right with each other. Simon Price is coming to the pits in his BMW.
Porsche is such a difficult car to overtake because of how good it is on the brakes. That Cayman, it can stop on a 5p piece. It's one of the best cars in terms of just pure braking power, which helps so much through that final sector of the lap. Also helps, of course, with trying to overtake, which we've seen Jake demonstrate numerous times, both obviously in this race up against Arthur Thurtle, but also in races gone by on his way to become champion last season as well. Demonstrated that to great effect. We've got, though, this little battle to keep an eye on, and it's more Jake trying to defend more than anything else from Lewis Ward. Through McLean's, nose to tail, up into Coppice. A horrible corner in real life. Don't think it models all of the sort of fluid from all of the sort of airplanes coming through from East Midlands Airport on there, but it is, well, the slippery of the box of eels up there. It's absolutely horrendous, especially if it's just sort of been raining as it had over the British Touring Car weekend.
I think it's all the residue from the aftershave falling out of the Ryanair 737s on the approach, to be honest with you. It's, yeah, pretty slick up there. I wonder whether Jake's trying to save a little bit of fuel here, you know, because every time they go into a braking zone, despite that amazing performance of the Porsche, he does seem to be lifting and sort of coasting into the braking zone that little bit more. Is he going to dive in? Yes, they all do. Do they? No. The two that we saw go long earlier have now continued on again. So Matthias Penteler retakes the lead of the race. In the background, Matt Slight, Guy Edwards, Christopher Smith all come in. The other car that will carry on will probably be Nils Kaur here. Nils currently in 15th place now.
Smart as well, actually, from Jake Cranstone to come to the pits, because they were going to be catching some lap traffic. I think Stephen Copmouse and Mark Johnson, Trackmouse Racing, were, I believe, about to be overtaken. So it's smart to sort of get out of the way of any potential shenanigans there, knowing that they'll also be likely coming into the pits now.
And look
Jake
at that.
Cranstone continues to lead from Arthur Thurtle. Lewis Ward still firmly in the picture as well, is he? Yeah, it's going to be about 1.5 seconds, but they've seemingly, well, again, dumped Matt Slight, but Matt's actually caught up a little bit, hadn't he, over that last pit stop. It's going to be more of a question of where Matthias Penteler and Taylor Adams find themselves. I think that's going to be the real question.
Well, it was
getting ahead of Mark Johnson there, getting out of the way. Great sort of effective use of the blue flag, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I think the main thing to take away from that pit stops there is that Lewis Ward was in the pit box for 2 seconds longer. That's where he's lost the time. So he was all over the back of Jake in the laps preceding the pit stops. but now he's dropped way behind him,
Yeah, you're right.
and Arthur Thurtle has gotten back in between the two of them. Here comes Pentila and Adams to go another lap. That's additionally interesting. They've got 20 seconds over Nils Kaur, so no worries about him at the moment. The battle on track at the moment is Ben Chalcraft and PJ Clysons. Adam Watson is making moves to get past Dom Brennan. Dom Brennan down in 26th position, and Dom seemingly out of the race. Where is Dom? Oh no. I think Dom might have had a disconnect. Trying to find him, and it does look like
Manually disconnected, it said, actually.
this is him coming into the pit lane.
And you're just looking at the sim, it says it was a manual disconnect as well, so it wasn't like his internet dropped out. Hope everything is alright with Dom.
Yeah.
Seems like he had to take his leave of the sim for whatever reason.
Yeah, he's not even put it down into first gear there. We can't bring up the dashboard on the replay, but you can see on the dash on the left-hand side, it's not in first gear.
I can see, seemingly for me, because I've got I think the internal camera view where it shows the dash, it was flicking for a brief period between first and second. So there was seemingly some action going on in the cockpit, but then
Yeah, it's just
nothing.
sat, yeah. Doesn't get going when the others do. That's a massive shame for Dom Brennan. He was right in the thick of that, having a really good fight as well. This is effectively the fight for the lead of the race now. Jake Cranstone. Nils Kaur has been into the pits, by the way. He's come back out in 14th position. I think he's jumped Rob Sharp. He's in a fight with Tim Perry and Nils Kaur. Matthias Pentila and Taylor Adams. Wow, it looked like Taylor's had to save a lot more fuel in that final lap there before they came in, because he dropped a lot of time to Pentila.
Yeah, certainly. We'll have a look as they make their way into the pit boxes, but you're certainly right on that factor. Taylor Adams dropping back from Matthias. Now, they might be able to take less fuel on board for this final stop because they went a few laps longer, so don't need to stay stationary for as longer length of time. Both of them now making their way out as Jake Cranstone
Wow.
passed them by, but not at all.
Wow.
Wonderful fuel-saving strategy there, working brilliantly for them, extending the stint by a lap compared to
Well,
Jake
2 laps by
Cranstone
the
and
end.
Arthur Thurtle. It was a lap each stint, wasn't it, Chaz? So on each stint, it would have been 1 lap per stint. That's given them those 2 extra laps of buffer, less fuel taking on board at the end of the race. We've seen them catapult themselves now into contention for that race victory, and with 14 minutes to go, well, I hope to see if that fin can fly off into the sunset.
Well, he made a brilliant return to the championship, did Matthias Pentila, and now it looks like he's going to try and go 1 step higher. I don't think he's won a race in the SRM GT4 Challenge before, so this would be his debut victory, but there's still 14 minutes, just under a quarter of this race left to go here at Donington Park. It's Pentila and Adams once again making strategy work. Cranstone third after leading almost all the race, ahead of Arthur Thurtle and then Lewis Ward. Matt Slight in 6th place. Christopher Smith and his teammate Guy Edwards absolutely welded at the hip again. They've got Matthias Tem next up, but he's a few seconds back to say the least. Simon Price was the car in there with them. I thought I saw Dominic Brennan for a moment. Dom is still, unfortunately, out of the race. Nils Kaur and Tim Perry have been having a bit of a fight. This is what's been going on with these pair. This was down into the hairpin. Nils sends it up the inside. Tim gives him plenty of room, but I think Tim's going to get the run on the exit there up the hill. Yeah, definitely. Nils moves him over to the left a little bit. Nothing too naughty, and then Tim says, yep, that's mine, I'll have that. Oh, you can see Nils really trying to work that BMW into the corner. Oh, he's had a bit of a nasty blink there, actually. And then Tim gets the position back, and, well, look at that for a switchback. There we go. To live pictures a lap or 2 later, and it looks identical.
Looks like they've never stopped battling, have they? Nils Kaur. That's why I had a little look, didn't he, up the inside of Redgate, but I think it was more just trying to unsettle Tim than anything else, but Tim's been around a little longer than that to be fooled by something like a little look to the inside. In towards the old hairpin they go. For the 30th time. So they're on lap 30 now. Matthias Pentila leads the way, 1.4 seconds the gap to Taylor Adams. Himself is actually 1.3 seconds ahead of Jake Cranstone. But they've got a little bit of time, don't they, to get back up into the fight. 12 minutes and 15 seconds remain for Jake Cranstone to see if he can maybe claim a race victory here tonight. Lewis Ward obviously qualified 5th. Was in contention for a race victory at one point, so won't be necessarily too aggrieved by his finishing result, but no, he could have gotten a little bit more if the race would end how it's certainly looking like it will for him. Let's see if he can get ahead of Arthur Vettel, but we know how good he is at defending. Fastest lap of the race so far, Taylor Adams. He's really putting the hammer down. All of these drivers are actually putting in basically personal best or near enough personal best lap times, but over that last lap, that was nearly 6/10 taken out of Matthias's lead.
Yeah, fantastic stuff by Taylor Adams on that previous lap. He's only 5 points behind Lewis Ward and Callum Brandt in the championship as well, so if he can finish this many places ahead of Lewis, he may actually take the championship lead even if he's second. But if he keeps the pace up, eventually takes the lead and beats Matthias Penteler, then he will definitely have a championship lead on his hands. So this could be a great turning point, this, for Taylor. We've seen him win races like this before. Like I said, he's really been the master of these races. Seems like Matthias Penteler, after learning from him and seeing him do that, has gone, yeah, you know what, I can do that as well. And the typically unflappable fin has been right at the sharp end for a long time here in SRM, but I feel like Taylor's a bit more confident in how much fuel he's got on board. Otherwise, I don't think he'd be pushing to that extent. We've both seen it before, haven't we, Ed, where drivers have 2 pit stops, they try and save fuel all the way through, and they still need to do that even in the final stint just to make sure they make the flag.
Yeah, because obviously the fuel calculation is based off of the amount of fuel they've been using for the whole race. So it obviously foresees them doing the same amount of fuel saving for those final 10 minutes as they had done for the first 50. Which is why I think we do sometimes see drivers miscalculating their strategies towards the end. But for now, looks like the pace is starting to return a little bit to Matthias. Not losing out that much to Taylor. Obviously, Taylor getting in the slipstream, which will help him for a couple of tenths here or there. BJ Clyson's there. 12th place for him. He's really been in the thick of the action and seemingly continues to be so for the next 9 minutes and 45 seconds. Matthias Temp, great defensive driving we've seen on display from him to keep this massive train of cars in behind him for pretty much the whole race, isn't it? The Temp train has been going strong.
The Temp train is going choo-choo all night by the sound of it. He's absolutely putting that Mercedes where he needs to. Ben Idris Abdullahi's got the run up the hill into McLean's, but again, he's got it right in the middle of the circuit. He's going to park it on the apex. Says, nope, screw you guys. I'm going to put the car here. It's going to be a massive, massive effort to get down the inside there. PJ Clystons looks down the inside of Chalcraft, though. He says, go on then, I'll have a bit of that. Ben Idris Abdullahi now gets his nose alongside Tem, nearly contact. Don't do it, boys, don't do it. Oh, Ben looks now to the inside. He's moving around a lot behind him, but again, just look at Matthias's line down there. He just didn't seem phased at all. Oh, that's a bit of a wiggle on the exit, though. And now Ben Idris Abdullahi will go down the inside. Watch PJ Clysons as well in that silver Mercedes. He's been late on the brakes into here all night. Bit too late, maybe. No, gets it stopped. Good stuff, great control. And is that going to be 2 positions for him? No, Chalcraft has a wobble on the exit. PJ moves over to the right. They're nearly 3 wide into the final corner. It's Abdullahi on the inside. He's nice and early on the brakes, parks it on the apex. PJ's got nowhere to go. Tem's going to try and go around the outside now on the exit. Now they're 2 wide again. Chalcraft suddenly dives back in. He's on the left-hand side of PJ Clysons, and look at that. Ben Idris Abdullahi clinging to that inside line. He's been overtaken up here earlier on in the race. He doesn't want to do it again. And now PJ can seal that 3rd place ahead of Ben Chalcraft into turn 1 as well. And then rinse and repeat, do it all again.
Yeah, we'll see if he can seal, because Matthias might try and fight him back. No gaps rising in towards the old hairpin, but, well, brilliant moving for both of those battles, wasn't it? Both PJ Clysons getting ahead of Ben Chalcraft, and then Ben Idris Abdullahi getting ahead of Matthias Tem. That's it's the Ben bus, isn't it? The Ben Idris Abdullahi bus after the Tem train.
Oh, who's that, Ed?
There we are.
It's Tim Perry. It's Tim Perry.
There we go.
Tim
not stealing
Perry.
too much.
Oh, it's Tim Perry driving the Mercedes, known for being driven by Tim Perry of Altitude 3 M Esports 2. A team that contains a driver called Tim Perry. Niels Core is on the back of this now. He can see Ben up there. He's like, right, Ben, let's use the gravitational pull. What on earth happened there? I was going to say, let's use the gravitational pull of the BMWs, but Ben Chalcraft just opened up a black hole on the apex there, and it spat Niels Core out the other way when it was done with him. What was that about?
Ben Chalcraft, rather, getting ahead of Tim Perry.
He's a force of nature, this boy.
Well, I have no idea what happened there with... Obviously on board it's difficult to see, but he sort of was carbureted really strangely to the bumpers. It's a BMW that tends to be really nice and stable through there. Oh, it's over-rotating on the inside of that first corner.
That was crazy. Crazy move.
Really well held.
Further up, Pentila now only has a 0.6 of a second lead over Taylor Adams with 6.5 minutes to go. That should be, I think we'll have 4 more laps or 3 more laps after this one. Still got a while of the lap left to go actually yet, so yeah.
3 laps, won't it?
Yeah, 3 laps after this one, won't it? Not
I
long.
imagine so. Yeah, Matthias has done a great job. Both actually, Matthias and Taylor doing a great job with the strategy. We said, didn't we, Chaz, if you're going to be doing anything right, it's basically to do what Taylor Adams does. So Matthias was certainly feeling, I think if he was a little bit maybe unsure about his strategy when he saw everyone else drive into the pits, I think those fears were definitely put to rest when he saw that he wasn't the only one. He had one of the best in the business right behind there with him. Lewis Ward, I think maybe we're going to see him get a bit more aggressive now that he realises that the race victory is maybe just a bridge too far. Again, 3.3 seconds gap from Lewis Ward to Matthias Pentila. But he's got several cars to try and pass in, well, a few laps. It's going to be tricky. He needs to get a shift on, well, immediately if he wants any hope of doing exactly that. You know, Jake Cranstone, is he not reeling in Taylor Adams over that last lap? Personal best, but not really gaining a huge amount, was he?
No, 0.01 of a second as well, only a few hundredths, if that. So, yeah, Cranstone not gaining a lot of time at all. I was going to say, the thing with Lewis Ward is if he is going to overtake those drivers and get up near the front in these final 5 minutes, they're not easy drivers to get by. You've got Arthur Thurtle, who is GT3 Winter Tour champion. Jake Cranstone, previous champion or reigning champion of the SRM GT4 Challenge, which they're racing in right now. Taylor Adams, I think championship runner-up in 3 different series here on SRM. But then the one with the least credentials is actually Matthias Pentila. He's not even won a race in this community before. But at the moment, well, he's doing everything right to win this one. He just needs to keep it far enough away from Taylor Adams. If anything, Lewis Ward is the most decorated driver of the lot.
Yeah, I think Lewis Ward, did he make an appearance late on in season 1?
Yes,
Right?
yes. I think it was Zolder in the
yeah.
Aston Martin. Or, no, season 2, I think. No, because he won season 2. So yeah, it would have been season
He
1.
was there Zolder in the Aston Martin, because
Yeah.
I think I remember racing against him and seeing him and going, hang about, there's another quick one here. I used to be racing with myself and Simon Povey up in front, and then Lewis rocked up on the scene, and it became very intriguing to have 3-way fights for the lead. Doesn't feel like long ago, actually, I was racing against Lewis and all these lot. That's how the years go by.
They're pushing so hard on the exit there. They really are. This lot haven't given up either. Oh, Matthias Tem into the pits. I wonder. Now, he had a slight off-track not long ago, so I think he might have hit the incident limit, and that's a drive-through penalty for Tem. He's had a bit of contact here and there in this race. That's a real shame. Real shame. Not massive progress from the likes of Callum Brandt or Adam Watson, actually. Adam's not going to score any points here. Callum Brandt is just coming through there and is only up into 18th. The guys haven't made the progress that I'm sure not just we, but everybody was expecting.
Yeah,
Callum's going to see Matthias behind him and go, oh, not you. He's like, I'm usually racing you near the front of the field. Not now. That's Bloom's very pretty. Sorry.
Yeah, and he's certainly closing up, actually, with Matthias. I'm not sure if maybe that Leclerc's got some sort of damage or issues with it, because it doesn't look necessarily that quick in a straight line. Look how much Matthias is reeling him in just after the old hairpin.
That seemed odd.
I'm not sure if this is a full-strength Callum Brandt we're seeing here, because you would imagine he'd have a little bit more pace about himself. Certainly off colour.
Yeah, he's gained 12 places still in this race, so he's made great progress, but yeah, like I said, just not the progress we would have expected. This is progress, though, as Pentila responds with his fastest lap of the race, gains a 10th over Taylor Adams. There's going to be this lap and then one more as Lewis Ward tries it around the outside of Arthur Thurtle. Arthur really fair, gives him lots of room to do that, but then they're right together again as they go back down the hill. Look at that. You could not get that Mercedes any closer. It's going to be getting mighty hot under the bonnet in that machine. Lovely bloom effects here with iRacing's updated lighting model that we've had for, well, nearly a season now. But wow, this has certainly been one of the cleanest races that we've had. It's been lovely to watch. But the battles that we've had, they may not have been a position change every single corner, but they've certainly been intriguing, haven't they? They've definitely kept our eyes open.
It's had everything this race, really, hasn't it? It's had the constant changing of action up at the front. It's had the strategy as well late on. Matthias Pentila and Taylor Adams coming through to basically snatch the podium places away from likes of Arthur Thurtle and Lewis Ward. Jake Cranstone, for all of his efforts, has just seemingly missed out right at the end. We're going to have, well, the white flag fall just shortly. Let's look at this. No, these drivers are giving up, are they? They're not surrendering one bit. For Arthur Thurtle or Lewis Ward, clinging on as they can.
Lewis is really trying to force him to go back to the outside there. They are throwing the absolute rule book at each other here, but it's great racing. Matthias Pentila, the Finnish driver for RD Simsport, leads us on to the final lap of the race then with Taylor Adams. The two of them have saved loads of fuel over the course of this race. They've played the strategy game and it has paid off tenfold so far. Even if they get beaten by Jake Cranstone in some horrible twist on this final lap, the two of them have done a wonderful job at playing this strategy game. Jake Cranstone put it on pole. He had Arthur Thurtle beat him on the first lap and then he got the place back. And since then, Arthur's had the attentions of Lewis Ward all over him, to be honest. He's going to be fed up of looking at that Mercedes. Very, very shiny cars all around from these guys. But Pentila is just 0.6 of a second clear and half a lap away from winning his first ever race in the SRM GT4 Challenge. And to be fair, Ed, it's quite fitting because it was Ben Idris Abdullahi, another staple of this community, that won his first race at Interlagos last time.
Yes, it is. So back-to-back first-time race winners here for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, so long as Matthias can hold on for the next couple of corners. Taylor Adams, he's been, well, stuck looking at the tail end of this RD Sim Sport Mercedes for much of the race, and he'll have to, I think, settle for second, but still, when you look at the race that he's had, he was going to be very glad that his strategy has paid off. A brilliant call from the pair of them, extending their stints to great effect. And here we go, Chaz. Matthias Pentila will win his first race in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge.
Pentila takes it over the line, weaves one way then the other. Absolutely elated with that one, I am sure. Typically unflappable as a Finn, but he will be very pleased. Taylor Adams second place, Jake Cranstone third with Arthur Thurtle fourth. I think Lewis Ward just ran out of fuel to the line. Christopher Smith overtakes Matt Slight on the final lap. He gets ahead of the McLaren with Guy Edwards finishing 8th. Ben Idris Abdullahi is next up with PJ Clyson's behind. Flash of the lights from Ben Idris Abdullahi. Then it's PJ. Then it is Ben Chalcraft. Nils Kaur just outside of the top 10 in 12th place ahead of Tim Perry. Rob Sharp recovering to 14th. Chris Jennings 15th. John Bailiff with 6 places gained. Well done to John Lee Berridge as well. Callum Brandt in the points. He started the race in 30th. And yeah, Matthias Tem finishes 19th. Oliver Carwadine is going to be the final point scorer in 20th place ahead of Dennis Van Wielen. But Matthias Pentila, well, that tells you how close he called it on the fuel. Listen to it. Shed. Absolute shed. Still, what a brilliant, brilliant victory that was, as we've got the final few cars crossing the line now. But a very entertaining race, Ed. Really good stuff from Donington Park once again. It's always a circuit that you can rely on, and it's given us an absolute treat here in round 5 tonight.
Yeah, it really did give us some excellent racing here, Chaz. But yeah, what about that? Matthias Pentila, first-time race victor for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. And he hadn't been here this season long, had he?
No, not at all. He had not been around for a long time, and he's managed to get that first ever race victory. He will be, well, buzzing to say the least with that one. I'm sure that there will be A lot of celebrations at RD with that one. Mateus has been in the championship for a while, and now he's on the top step. He takes the win from Taylor Adams. Great race from the pair of them. Jake Cranstone gets an all-important podium position. Arthur Thurtle finishes in 4th ahead of Lewis Ward after an epic battle there. And then it's Christopher Smith in 6th place, always consistent, always scoring points. Same with Matt Slight and Guy Edwards as well. Ben Idris Abdullahi will not be too over the moon with a 9th place. PJ Clyson's, he'll probably be happy to have survived and got a top 10 there. Then it's Ben Chalcraft in 11th, with Nils Kaur in 12th, Tim Perry 13th, ahead of Rob Sharp. Then it's Chris Jennings and John Bailiff, with Lee Berridge and Matthias Tem. Oliver Carwadine and Dennis Van Beelen complete the top 20. Adam Watson 21st, Callum Brandt dropping to 22nd. Now that's an interesting one. I don't know why he would have had that, because where does that put him? So he's a minute and 15 off. That's about half a minute penalty. I wonder if he got a drive-through on the final lap and then didn't serve it or something. That's really, really strange. But Callum Brandt outside of the points. Christopher Rowe 23rd, Mark Johnson 24th, ahead of Eric Manintveld, Stephen Codman, Simon Price and Stephen Burns. Those guys are lapped down. Then the drivers that did not finish, I believe. Heinz Meyer actually, I think, did finish the race, sorry. He's 29th. Dominic Brennan and Francois Brandet did not finish. Well, we do our usual. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning and somehow unpack a race that, admittedly, I don't think there was that much overtaking, but it was still great action all the way through, wasn't there, Ed? Constant battles from almost everybody in the field.
Yeah, there was never really a dull moment at all in that race, which is what we love, isn't it, as broadcasters, Chaz? We don't want to have to fill dead air. We love having these battles, but it gets a bit much. You need to have a time to de-stress and breathe, and I think we'll have a chance to process everything with some interviews, because we've got drivers waiting in the wings, don't we?
We absolutely do, and we're going to bring in Taylor Adams to start us off. Taylor, we knew that you were good at the strategy calls when it comes to these races, but you must be extra pleased with the fact that that one worked so well tonight.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm absolutely knackered now, but yeah, that was pleasing. Once I lost the position at the start and dropped to 5th, I knew I only really had one option, which was to feel safe, because I'm so rubbish on the brakes, I couldn't overtake anyone. So I just sat behind, bided my time, and then
Pounced.
I think I possibly could have got Matthias at the end on the pit exit, but I messed up the clutch, so I just bogged down. So, but I'm very happy with second, because these guys are so fast.
Well, I mean, it will potentially, I think, with obviously without calculating drop scores, this is the reason I hate them, because you can't do the mental arithmetic, but I think that might put you in the championship lead if it's not some of these guys' worst results. So, I mean, it's a solid start to the championship, isn't it? After a couple of race meetings, you must be pretty pleased with that as well.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd stand a chance, to be honest, this season, because everyone's so fast. So I was shocked I was in 3rd after the last round. So if I'm any higher up, I'll be even more pleased. So yeah. Oh.
I bet you're knackered. I mean, I bet you are, because I mean it's incredibly hard work with these guys, because like you say, they are so fast, and so are you though. That's the thing, but it's maintaining that pace. I know that's a bit of a nightmare. We've got a week off, of course, before we come back, but at Spa this time we're going sprint racing, not endurance racing. What do you make of going there?
I think it'll be a good laugh. I think the reverse grid will be good fun. Hopefully I can just get quali right, because I'm pretty good at messing up quali. I was amazed I got it right tonight, to be honest. And it's going to be difficult to pass there, I think, in the Merc, because it struggles a bit just at the end of the straight, I think. So,
Well, we'll
see what happens.
Absolutely, mate. Well, we look forward to seeing how it goes. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
To you guys, first of all, you and Ed and Andy, of course, for putting on this championship and then hosting, doing the streams and everything. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
And then also then Matt as well, my teammate, because he was very useful in practicing. We sort of, even though we're in different cars, we sort of bounced ideas off each other. And then just my parents and my girlfriend who are watching somewhere. So.
Well, I hope they've enjoyed the show, mate. Great to speak to you as always, Taylor. Well done on the points, mate, and we'll speak to you at Spa. Have a good one.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Cheers. Yeah, Taylor Adams, as you can tell, very tired after that one, but not surprising, really. It is one of those circuits, Donington. You don't really get a break, do you, other than that little straight down to the chicane?
No, there's not a lot of time to relax or think. So it's great to have that little insight, isn't it, of the driver's mental states after, well, racing around non-stop for an hour. And I think we are going to get another little insight from yet another driver, Chaz, don't we? Arthur Thurtle joins us.
Absolutely. Arthur, you were fighting with just about everybody all the way through that race. It was like a reverse Newton's cradle bouncing off Jake and Lewis. Again, much like Taylor Adams, you must be knackered.
I'm dripping.
I'm not surprised in any way. That looked like one of the hardest fought races, but it wasn't dirty, it wasn't messy, it was close racing, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was brilliant racing. I was a bit worried that a bit of sweat might drip down onto my glasses and I wouldn't be able to see.
Well, you made it work around here tonight at Donington. Is it a circuit that you enjoy driving at? Because you seem to go well.
I enjoy the track. I don't enjoy the car at the track.
Right.
If the Aston needs second gear on a corner and it needs second gear and then 2 hairpins, you could just it totally nerfs it. It just doesn't do second gear, and you have to be so careful on the down change. If you change down slightly too early and then you like it's almost bouncing off the rev limiter in second and you're on the brakes, it will easily just lock one of the rear brakes and spin you as easy as you like.
Yeah, it's something that Ed and I were talking about during qualifying, saying that, you know, we hope that Donington doesn't have too many slow corners around here, but boy, it does in that last sector. I bet you were hoping for the national layout, weren't you?
I was. I think if it had been the national layout, I could have sent it over that last chicane and been all right. But that was good. It was good. I was pleased to get second on the grid and have a good battle with Jake. That was nice.
It's always a pleasure to watch it, and obviously, Championship's going pretty well at the moment. We've got Spa next. What do you make of going there?
I don't know, the Aston's going to be strong in the middle sector, but the first sector and second sector, it'll be weak. So it's going to be interesting. Last time I raced it there was in a GT4 league. The Aston I lost a second, or half a second in the last 2 sectors, but was a second quicker than everyone else in the middle sector.
Right.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely will be. We're excited to see just how that goes for you. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we move on?
I'll give a shout out to Jake for being a good sportsman there in the battles. I've raced with Jake for quite a long time. I even gave him one of my old monitors.
Oh, right.
I think if he keeps beating me, I'll have to ask for that back.
I like that.
And all my teammates, all the sponsors, Bream, Mr. Hedge, Access to Inspiration, the Lima Resource Centre, Sim Stickers. It's that's good. Great, you guys for putting on this wonderful championship.
It's our pleasure, Arthur. Well done, mate. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you next time.
Arthur Thurtle in a very good mood tonight, isn't he? He's absolutely buzzing with that. I don't think I've ever heard him that animated or that happy. He's loving it. He's knocked dead out. He's surprised him that much. He's knocked dead out. We'll have to move on very quickly to our race winner, Matthias Pentila. You have finally taken that initial victory in the SRM GT4 Challenge. You must be over the moon, mate. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was fun. I didn't actually expect to win at all, but I committed to the fuel saving from lap 1, and I was surprised how much fuel I could save just watching the other guys race at the front. And and after the second pit stops, I just was surprised at how far ahead I came out, and then it was just not gonna slow down at the chicane.
Well, it looked like a bit of a difficult one to manage, though, because, I mean, this circuit, you can save fuel quite well, as you obviously found out, and as a lot of us know, but it didn't look like it was an easy thing to calculate around here, because the pace was so strong at the front half of the field, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were actually quite helpful, because they were fighting a bit, so I didn't have to push as hard to keep up with them. So everything went basically perfectly in terms of strategy.
I was going to say, it's not often a race goes fully to plan, but obviously that's a good one to have. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to before we let you go, Matthias?
Well, everybody at the RD Sim Sport team for being fun guys to race with. Then my wife for not getting too annoyed at kind of looking at me sit on the sim rig.
Well, nicely said, mate. It's always a good shout out for the wife, but very well done, mate. It was fantastic to see you get that first victory, and we hope for more in the future for you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Matthias Pentila. I can never say his name right. Ed says it right with the little accent in the middle, but yeah.
Matthias.
I always go Matthias. I don't know why. But great to see another driver take their maiden win here in SRM, Ed. It's been 2 weeks on the bounce now that we've had that, and it's just a lovely sight.
It is really wonderful. It's always a great little storyline, and yeah, Matthias has been, I think, real breath of fresh air, isn't he, to the championship? Good to have some new blood in there. Obviously, he's raced with us before, but not for, I think, a full campaign. So it's great to see him right up there and having the confidence to fight with some of the more established drivers in this championship and not back down one bit. It's been brilliant.
It really has. Another race meeting in the books here in the SRM GT4 Challenge in its 6th season. We now head to Spa-Francorchamps in 2 weeks' time, where we have another sprint race evening. That's going to be a busy one with 2 races there, 20 minutes, then half an hour. Don't forget to join us here on Chaz Draycott Media for that one, same time as well, 10 to 8 UK time in the evening. Thanks as always to Derbyshire Holiday Homes, and thank you also to Orris Analytics for their sponsorship of the championship. Thanks to Ed May for joining me in the commentary box once again, and everybody for watching us here tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Have a good one. And look at Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete. The two of them go flying through the right-hand side, then the left-hand side. Jochen Hahn around the outside, and Lucas Hahn, no father and son, come together on the exit of turn 1.
And the best thing about this is the fact that it's still a 15-minute sprint race. It's not extended the time of the race. It's still just like, it's going to be, 7 laps of Spa-Francorchamps?
Yeah. We get to the real nitty-gritty of motorsport. Cranston and Smith are side by side for the title in the very final race of the season. As they go back up the hill towards the Schumacher. Nils Core clips the back at 10. Simon Povey clips the side of Nils Core. They go over the hill and Povey's around. Oh my god, that's going to definitely be the thumbnail, when it hit me in the right direction. Thank you so much.
23 cars.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.